In this video, I'm going to show you behind the scenes what we're doing to combat the new algorithm updates for Meta. Now, the new update is really requiring a new strategy, and what I want to do in this video series is I actually want to show you behind the scenes what we do step by step so that you can actually see us integrate the strategies to combat the new algorithm. So the new algorithm is really requiring a couple of things from us when it comes to our Facebook ads. One, broad audiences are all of a sudden something that really works in Meta. So before we would tell you to limit your audience sizes, pick particular interests, and what we're seeing now is going broad typically works better. The new algorithm has AI built in. What it's actually doing is it's actually at scale determining whether the creative is a good fit for the interests or not. So what we want to do is, number one, we want to go broad on our interests. Number two, we want to allow the creative to resonate with the particular interested person. So for example, if I'm trying to target a business owner, having specific keywords in my creative and in my primary and headline text will typically work better with this new update. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're implementing some sort of strategy so that we can combat the algorithm. The new algorithm is not a fan of very low budgets. And what we're seeing is ads are never leaving the learning phase, right? So you're starting off an ad, the ad runs, but it never really gets enough information and data to leave the learning stage. So what I want to share with you is what we're doing behind the scenes, and in this series I actually want to do 3 or 4 different videos, and I actually want to record the process as we go through. I want to show you, number one, what is the strategy that we're implementing to combat this new algorithm change. Number two, I actually want to build the campaigns with you. So I'm going to take you through it step by step. We will build each campaign individually, and that way you can actually see what we're doing. And then we'll do interval recordings. So after 10 to 15 days, we'll do another video. We'll show you where the numbers are at. We'll show you what moves we make. And that way you can follow us literally behind the scenes. Now, the strategy that you implement will be different from business to business, but this new approach is typically what we're seeing really good results from. In the past, what we would always recommend is typically doing some sort of a capture campaign, so where you're either getting transactions or getting leads or getting traffic, and then we would use a retargeting strategy to capture anyone that had come in so that we could get conversion. This new strategy is actually more about testing more creative. So we want to make sure that the creative is very different. It's not just, a change in a headline. It's a completely different type of content. For example, if it's user generated, or if it's a static image, or if it's actually a video of a demonstration, you want to make sure that you're using as much variety when it comes to your ads as possible. Now, different businesses, whether it's leads, e-commerce, whatever it is, will have different strategies. Our strategy is going to be around getting our lowest ticket offer through the door, right? So our Ad Launch Academy, which is essentially a $27 offer, which gives people access to this community and all the information, and it gives them access to the software that can allow them to actually launch their ads. It really is the start in our value ladder. So if you consider a business value ladder, it's typically right at the bottom there. It's pretty low entry, but there's tons of value in this. Now, what we've seen typically in the past with our strategies and the old algorithm is it really worked and we were getting tons of sales. When that algorithm changed, we saw a massive difference in the performance of our ads across the board. So what we're going to do is, for the very first time, we're actually going to show you step by step what strategy we're implementing. I will show you the creative, I will show you the ideas, and you'll be able to see how this actually translates in the real world. So when this ad is live and when this ad is running, we'll do a check-in after a couple of days, and we'll actually look at the numbers of the strategy and see how it's playing out. So this new strategy is typically around creative. Now, the AI Ads Manager gives you one great advantage, and that is the creative banks. The AI split tests creative at scale quicker than anyone can do it manually. So what we want to do is we want to use as much creative as possible, and very different hooks, very different headlines, very different angles, at different stages of the funnel, right? So whether it's problem aware or solution aware, we want to make sure that we're combating different stages of that funnel. Our strategy is going to be typically running two separate campaigns. One campaign we're going to call scale, and that's the campaign that's going to be the one that we're actually going to put most of the budget in eventually. The second campaign that we're going to do is what we call our testing campaign. So this testing campaign is where we're going to feed all the creative through, and this will run the budget. The purpose of the testing campaign is not necessarily to make sales. It's more to find out which creatives, which hooks, which headlines are actually working with the audience. Both campaigns will have identical audience settings. We're going to have no interest selected, purely AI targeting. So we're pushing the Meta algorithm to find the ideal audience. We'll do this in two countries, Australia and New Zealand. And those ads are going to be typically identical besides the actual creative that we're using and then the primary text and the hooks. And I'm going to show you what this phased approach typically looks like. So let's dive into the strategy. So I can just show you what this typically looks like. So if you can imagine, we said we've got two campaigns. Essentially, we have a scale campaign, $20 a day, and then a testing campaign for another $20 a day. And what we're going to be doing here is we're actually going to limit the ages. So we're going to say 25 to 55, and the entire country, male, female, there's no interest selected. It's literally just go find the ideal audience. The creative in this exercise is actually going to be doing the hard work. Now, with this first campaign, we will put 10 assets in, videos and images, combinations. We will put 4 primary texts and 4 headlines, the way that we do ads normally, and we will allow that campaign to run. The testing campaign will have a very similar setup, but we're going to put a bank of content behind that. So with the testing campaign, essentially all we're going to do is we'll put 10 creatives, so images and videos, very different hooks and angles. I'll show you some comparisons so you can see. And essentially, this testing campaign is what we're going to use to feed the scale campaign. Whenever we see something working in testing campaign, it will be fed into the scale campaign. We will do this at a structured approach, so it won't be, we will need numbers and enough learning to happen with the budget in order for us to make any decisions. All decisions will be made based on the numbers, and I will show you behind the scenes how we're thinking and what we're doing along the way. Backed by the creative that we have in the testing campaign, we're going to have a creative bank of additional assets. So videos, images, different hooks, different angles, different personas, targeting different types of audiences. And what we will do is this will consistently feed into the testing campaign. And then whatever works from here, we will move that into the scaling campaign. So eventually, over time, the scaling campaign will actually come down to a couple of very good performing assets that we've tested in the testing campaign and we know work. And only then will we look at additional strategies like retargeting. So let's have a look at what this looks like. You'll see that there's different headlines and different primary text for each of them. And they are different angles and different targeting personas, right? So we're going to allow the creative to do the work in this exercise. And then if you come down here, this is literally the phased approach of how we're going to do this. So looking at phase 1, I just want to try and zoom in so that it is not distracting. So typically phase 1, 50% of the budget goes into the scale campaign, 50% of the budget goes into the test campaign. We're not expecting to see much in the first 10 days. What we're expecting to see is some signal. We're looking for which creatives are working, which hooks are working, which primary texts are working. And then what we'll do, this will depend entirely on how Meta uses the budget. So if there is a low budget, which Meta is not enjoying at the moment, if you have a low budget, it doesn't allow the ad enough time to learn. So the only way we will go beyond this 10-day period is if the learning period is extended. So if the ads are not learning and we don't have enough data, we will wait 20 days if we must so that we can get the data from the campaigns. Both campaigns will run 50-50 budget, $20 each campaign. And then what we will do is after the first 10 days, or the first period of time where we can actually measurably see the best performers in each campaign, we will then move some of the best performers from the testing campaign into the scaling campaign. What that means is we will remove certain assets, we will put new ones in from the testing that we know works. And then what we'll do is we'll increase the budget on the scale campaign and we will decrease the budget on the test campaign. Notice we're not going beyond a 20% shift in budget, right? So we're keeping it tight so that the budget incrementally shifts. It doesn't happen all at once. If the budget change exceeds 20%, so for example, if we're transitioning the budget and we need to move beyond 20%, we will do it over a period of time. So every 3 to 4 days, we'll shift that budget out slightly so that we don't break the learning phase and push the ad back into learning. So the next phase is typically now where we've now tested enough assets, we've moved through enough assets that we know which ones are performing the best. We now put the best performers in here again. And now can you see your scaling campaign, the budget's going up, but we're also using the best assets. We know what works, we know what converts, and we know where the actual success is in our campaign. And only at this stage, we will always keep a test campaign. We will feed this test campaign consistently with new creative. And I'll show you what we've built now. And whatever works here, we will incrementally move it into the scale campaign. And only then will we look at potentially integrating a retargeting campaign. And that's essentially what we're going to do step by step. Now, let's quickly look at what sort of creative have we put aside here. So if you have a look, I'm going to just remove the video for a second so that you can just have a look at the different types of creative. So we have the scale campaign. We'll start off with 4 images and 6 videos. Notice that they're all very different angles, different people. Some have AI avatars, some say e-commerce, some say businesses, very different in its approach. Then we have the testing campaign, which has images. It has 3 images, and these are very different, right? This is looking at like kind of perceiving what the ads should bring when they actually run ads. And then we've got the videos, and the videos again are very different. We now have animated versions. We have some very crazy, like out there type of ads. And these ads are all designed to test what works. We're trying to see here, like you'll have a look, this is definitely targeting an e-commerce business because he's packing the boxes. But essentially what we're trying to do here is we're trying to figure out which assets work, and then we will move them into the scale once we know what works. Then we have the creative bank. Now remember what I said, the creative bank is what's going to be feeding the test campaign. And that's essentially the library of content. And notice how vast this content is and how different the content is. So the creative bank has a whole bunch of images, which just tests different angles, different hooks, different demographics, different people. Then we've got the videos, which again, different hooks, different angles, different people, different sizes. We're literally testing tons of different creative along the way. Now, what I recommend is for anyone that is trying to overcome the new algorithm and what's happening, what I recommend is focus more on your creative than ever before. We want to make sure that the creative is actually performing. If you've seen a massive drop in your click-through rates or in your performance, typically your creative is something that's not resonating, or we're going against the algorithm by being super specific on our audience targeting. So the idea is broad in terms of interests, in terms of locations, in terms of ages, and we want the algorithm to go find the ideal client. Now, what's actually happening behind the scenes is every time you engage with something on Facebook or on Instagram, it's actually learning what your algorithm needs to look like, and it's feeding in assets as it goes. The second thing that you need to think about when it comes to these new campaigns is your conversion rate on your actual page. During our ad launch live events, it's something that we teach you where it's beyond the click, and we focus on how do you make sure that your page converts as high as possible. Meta is now seriously watching what happens after that click, and it's sending feedback back to know, is this working or not? Now, if you have high traffic and no one is converting, Meta's getting the signal that what you're advertising and what you're offering are two separate things. So you want to make sure that there's congruency between what you're offering in your ad and what the landing page looks like. And for our example, we're literally sending them to the Ad Launch Academy page, which tells them what they will be getting. It shows them what the course involves. It shows them there's testimonials. There's a whole bunch of information here around what they're going to get, how it works, testimonials from previous clients. And essentially, this is the start of that journey. Now, this is where we will be sending them. We will most likely be split testing these pages as well once the scale campaign has actually gotten to a point where we're getting a bit better. But for now, we're going to focus on launching the first campaign and then the test campaign. Now, what I'm going to do, this is going to be a longer format type of video, but what I'm going to do is I actually want to do this with you step by step. So I actually want to show you how we build this for our own campaigns, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go over to the AI Ads Manager. And we're going to show you something we've never done before, where we actually launch ads with you watching us. But the nice thing is you get to actually see that we implementing what we're teaching you. And the nice thing is we'll also be able to do the check-in after each phase. So when we do phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, we're actually going to re-record to say, hey, this is the numbers we're seeing and this is the decisions we've made. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by, firstly, what I recommend is put this on paper somewhere. I don't know how you guys do it in your organization or what you do, but what I recommend is have some sort of layout. We use Canvas specifically, but have some sort of layout. Say, this is the campaign, this is how much we're going to put in, this is how it's going to work, so that you can visually see what the strategy is. And then put your text in, you have everything ready so that when you come to build your ads in the AI Ads Manager, you're not trying to figure anything out. You kind of know exactly what it is that you want to do. So we've agreed on all of these, and they're most probably not perfect. The numbers will tell us what works and what doesn't. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off by sorting out our campaign. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you're connected. So under the Brands tab, you will see a section that says Connected Accounts. You're going to make sure that you have your pages connected. In this case, they are. And you make sure that both your Instagram and your Facebook are selected. And now what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the Advertise tab. In the Advertise tab, we're going to start off by clicking Meta. And you'll notice that we're going to start off right at the top. So it says, what is our goal? So in this case, in our case, this may be different for every business, but in our specific case, the objective is sales. So my objective is, there's a pixel on this page that will track you all the way through, but my objective is purchase the course. That's the main objective that we want, right? So sales, we select the pixel, we select the event as purchase. We're not in a special ad category, so we hit save. So now we've set the goal. That's like the most important thing. You want to make sure you're setting the right goal. Often what we see is companies set up the wrong goal, or they set up a pixel goal that doesn't exist. So if you're not tracking for purchases, don't set purchase as your goal. So what we're going to do now is I'm not going to describe what we're advertising. We're going to leave this open. What you would naturally do is you would type in Ad Launch Academy training, right? Because I have created all of my assets and I'm ready to go, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not going to say generate audience, and I'm not going to say generate ad copy, and I can say that actually, and I can just hit generate. No, we don't need to. We don't need to because we have everything already. So we're going to skip this describe what you're advertising section because we have everything. If we didn't have everything, we would need to type in here, Ad Launch Academy. Actually, let's just do it this way. Ad Launch Academy course to master online ads. And let's say generate copy. I'm going to leave audiences because I know what I want to do. Let's just do it the traditional way so you can see how it goes. But essentially now it's going to look at our website. It will look at what we're offering. It will understand our business. And it will typically now start to make sure that the creative and the assets and everything that we're putting in is congruent with what we're trying to achieve. So the first step is your creative. So you have three options: dynamic ad, standard ad, and then carousel. In this case, we're going to select dynamic ad because I want the ads manager, the AI ads manager, to split test all the creative. Okay. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to select from my library, and I am going to upload the content. So just give me 1 second. Okay, so it's actually going to be easier to just drag and drop. Let me do it that way. Okay, so in the scale campaign, which is the one we're building, we will start off by adding the images. So I'm going to drop in the images here. Now, notice I'm in the image tab. And again, it's important to come to the ads manager ready, right? Like you don't want to sit here and try and figure stuff out. It takes much longer. There's tons of assets here that will help you, but it's going to take much longer to launch a campaign if you're trying to figure out what creative you want. You want to come to the ad with everything ready. So I'm going to select these four, and then I'm going to go over to videos, and I'm going to upload my videos. And now that the videos are uploading, it will take a bit to upload. But you can notice at the bottom, I have my selected assets. If I want to view any of them, there's a little icon here where I can view the assets and I can see exactly what it is. So I'm just going to let all the videos load before we proceed to the next step. And then while we're here, let me just show you some of the creative, right? So we've gone with typical pain points of the ideal audience. This is one of our best performing ads that has always worked in the past. So we're putting this into the scale because we know it works. This is a working ad as well in the past that we've seen success with. So we're starting off the scaling campaign with things that have typically worked in the past. It doesn't mean that they will work in this specific campaign. That's why we use the test and the scale. Okay. So let's just let it finish. It's almost done. We got one left to upload. While it does that, I will select the videos. So we should have 10 assets, 10 out of 10 assets selected. That's the maximum amount we can put in. And that's what we're going to start with. What I recommend is don't start off with less. Make sure you put as many in here as you possibly can. And once that's done, we're now going to go over to our primary text and our headlines. So we're not going to use what the AI has generated. We're going to come to our approved text and we're going to literally bring this in. So what I'm doing here is literally just copying and pasting the creative that we've approved. And notice we've typically gone a little bit shorter than longer. Like if you look at these, this is 2 paragraphs. Ideally, we want to just try and keep that a little bit shorter than what the AI is recommending. And we will do the last one. Okay. All right, so your call to action is, we're going to use the same call to action for both, and we'll leave it as learn more. And we're going to come down to the headlines. Same thing, we're going to take the ones that we've approved. And notice the angles are super different, right? So one is, one small decision, one big impact on your pipeline. That kind of targets lead generating businesses. The next one is turn ads into real results. That's kind of tapping into the return on investment and people that are struggling with their ads, ads that finally do their job. And we can do the last one, which is very controversial, but let's see how it goes, which is fire your agency, take control of your ads, right? So let's see how they perform, right? So now that we've got the images, the videos, those are all loaded in. We've got the primary text, the headlines, all loaded in and ready to go. We've got the call to action, which is learn more. And then we've got the next step. So I'm going to close our creative. The next step is targeting. Now, remember what we said? We're not putting any interests in. We're selecting AI targeting. This is the same as basically putting no targeting into Meta. Basically saying, and it says here, this option targets everyone within the chosen location and age range without using any specific targeting options. Facebook's algorithm determines who sees the ads. And this is really different to what we've seen in the past, where in the past you would be strategic about your interests. We're now seeing the algorithm wanting us to actually open that up completely. So what we're going to do is we're going to just choose a realistic age group. For my specific case, we're not going to go... let's leave that maximum range at 60. So we've got 25 to 60. Generally, anyone below 25 is student, and we've just haven't seen good results in the past. However, the numbers will show us when we actually look at the numbers. So that is our age ranges, our city and location. We're going to put Australia, we're going to put New Zealand. We're going to give the algorithm enough room to work. So we're going to say, go find those people. Notice it went from 11 million to 17 million. So we've given it more people to go and find, right? We've hit save. Now it will target anyone within that age group, any gender within that location that is interested in what we have to offer. For our placements, we'll leave it as Advantage Plus. And our website, we're going to make sure is the Academy. So I will paste the Academy in here, and we will do that budget, which is the equivalent of 20 a day. And then we're going to go optional. We will activate Optimise for me. In the scale campaign, we're not putting in anything in the Creative Bank yet. The Creative Bank will get everything from the testing campaign that works, okay? So we're just giving it these 10, and we're saying use these 10 as the initial campaign. This is the naming. I'm just gonna, every company is different. Everyone does their naming conventions differently, but this is just so that we know. So this is Ad Launch Academy, Scale Campaign, Purchase Objective, Australia, New Zealand, Broad, based targeting version 1. And that's just in case we end up duplicating this campaign at a later stage. The last thing that you're going to do is you're going to scroll through this section, and you're just going to have a look at your ads, and you're going to see, okay, does this make sense? Does it look good? What you want to look for here is you don't want the text to overlap, right? So you don't want it to go where it says read more. You want it to be easily readable. Your first sentence is so important on your headlines and your primary text. You don't want this to be too long. You want to keep it short. Boosting random posts is not a strategy. Okay, so that already calls out people that are boosting posts when they're trying to run ads. Learn how to propel ad funnels that move people from click to sale, right? So What you want to do is you just want to scroll through these, have a look at them, and make sure that you're happy with them. You say, okay, this looks great. Now, obviously, we've done all the homework, so we know that the creative is correct. Last double check, and the headlines, that's perfect. Cool. I'm happy. All you're going to do, scroll down to the bottom. You can either save it as a draft, schedule it for a later time, or launch. So in this case, we launch, and this is the first campaign. So it says you cannot select more than 10 images and videos. I have not. Interesting. Let's remove everything. So this is most probably because I selected stuff before the videos were uploaded. So let's select the 4 images and then the 6 videos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And click out. And it is setting at dynamic ad. That's correct. Double check again, just in case anything changed. That all looks the same. That looks right. Cool. Optimize for me is on. The name and hit launch. Let's see if it goes. Okay, so something is not gelling. I've not selected more than 10. Okay, let's do this. So this is common, like it could happen. So what we'll do is we'll save this as a draft. I'm not going to notice I didn't refresh the page. I saved it as a draft. I'm now going to refresh the page. And we're going to come back into the ads manager and we're going to go to drafts. And we will find it. Here it is. We will make sure that it is correct. 10, we'll rotate and learn. Yes. All there, that's correct. Targeting. Okay, that's fine. Website, that's fine. Budget is fine. And we're going to just make sure optimize for me is on. That is correct. Let's see if it goes. If it doesn't go, I may need to select one less. Let's just see. It's obviously not happy with something. So let's refresh that again. Let's remove everything. And it has not remembered my videos, which is interesting. So let's select the 4. Let's go over to videos. Yeah, something happened with that upload of the videos. So let's just give it a chance to upload before selecting. So in that case, what I did is I selected things before it actually finished the upload. And I think it may need a little bit more time for the upload, which is actually potentially what is going wrong here. So let's just give it a second to upload all the videos. And we want to make sure that these 10 are very different, right? So you want to see like things like client reviews or client testimonials versus a static GIF image that bounces on in terms of a button. So all of these ads are very different in their design, in their feel, in their approach, and in the avatar that they're targeting, as well as which stage of the funnel they're in. Okay. So we now have it uploading. It's almost done. This is one of the challenges with recording live. And we're not going to edit this out. So it will be here so people can actually see what happens when things don't work. So what we'll do is now let's select the 4 that we have, the 6 that we have, and we now have 10 assets. The headlines are correct. Learn more, targeting's open. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. And optimize for me. The name is correct. Let's see if it goes. It's so interesting. Okay, so I have saved that as a draft with no creative. Let's see if it works better now. Let's start off with the videos. Let's see if it works better. I definitely think there's something happening with the uploading of these videos. Let me make sure none of them are corrupt, because that could also be an issue. They all look okay, so let's go ahead and do our final check for the 7th time. Let's go here. Sorry. Just I know that I'm gonna need that. Here. Okay. And let's see if it goes. So there's definitely something happened with the uploading of the videos. So what I'm going to do on the next one is I'm actually going to upload the videos, and we're not going to proceed with anything else until everything's loaded in. Notice that it needs some time now, because obviously you're uploading megabytes of videos in. So it needs some time to process the ad. So when this happens, don't refresh the page, don't change pages, don't go anywhere. Stay on this page until the bar finishes out. Okay, so it's still going. We're just waiting for the assets to be uploaded. And there we go. Let's see what it says. Your campaign is live. So in this case, we want to open the campaign. Now we need 24 to 48 hours for this to be approved. We're not going to do anything here for the first couple of days unless it is not approved or unless something goes wrong. The new algorithm doesn't like you to tweak things all the time. So you kind of want to, when you make your change, make sure it's meaningful. Next, let's go to the actual scale campaign. So notice we're not putting anything in the creative bank. We're going to do that for the scale campaign. So we're going to click on advertise. Let's just show me the enabled one. So I'm going to rename this so we know what this is. Add a scale. And then we're going to literally start again. So click on Instagram. It's now pulled what we were advertising before. So we're going to select from library. Because it took so long, I'm going to start off with the videos. So same thing, we're going to just upload the videos from the test campaign now. And in this case, we're doing a couple more. There is definitely more videos happening in the test than we had in the original scale. And basically what these two campaigns are doing, they're not competing against each other because the creative is different. So often people think that ads will compete against each other. It really doesn't work like that. Ideally, we want to know which assets work the best so that we can use those specific assets when we move it over to scale. So you'll notice that these assets are very different. Like this one literally just takes you through what the training is about. So it kind of shows proof of concept so that they can actually see what's going to be in there. It doesn't really show them what the other ones do. It's a little bit different. This one is an animated version of our most popular ad that we have. And that's just him celebrating. So it's a little bit different, more animated. Here's another one where a guy is celebrating that he's got success with his online ads. And essentially we're trying to drive that feel of like that's what success feels like when you click beyond this. Now these ads are extremely different to the first batch that we had, right? This one is of the Meta team judging your ad campaigns. And basically that's going to just, that'll most probably drive some engagement and some clicks. It might perform, it might not perform. Here's another one of Mark and a gorilla judging you for boosting posts. So in this case, we have 2, 4, 6, 7. So it looks like they've all loaded. So I'm going to select them and we're going to now move over to the images. And for the images, there is only 3, and they are, again, very different to the last batch. So I will load those videos and images, and then we'll move over to the headlines and the primary text, and we're almost at the finish line. So I've selected the 3 images. That's all good. We have 10 assets. That's perfect. Let's go now to our primary texts, and we're going to take them from the testing campaign, and what I'm going to do is just copy them one by one. And this is like, can you see how it's like stop guessing about your ads, and then this one's like whether you're managing clients' budgets or your own. So it's speaking to different avatars at different stages, right? So when you create your texts, you want to make sure that they are speaking to the problems of your ideal persona that you're trying to attract. And naturally, the creative will do the hard work, right? So if something is not working, the creative will show you that it's not a good fit. So let's copy these over. This is just, so can you see, like learn ads once and for all. Tired of hope this works ad strategy. And this is again taking things that the ideal audience would most probably be saying when they actually launch their campaigns. So just to finish the last bit. Oh, I think I've messed that up. I think I messed that one up. No? Okay. Right, now the same call to action, so we're not changing anything. The only thing that's changing is the primary text, the headlines, and the creative, right? The targeting stays identical. This was to the ages of 60, and this was 25, and we said Australia, New Zealand, that's fine. And the website is going to be this one, and we're going to say the budget is the same as the previous campaign. Optimize for me is on, and now we get to get cracking. So let's quickly add, I'm just worried if I add tons of creative now. I have about, I think 40 assets that we have for the test creative bank, but let me show you how this would work regardless. So we've got Optimize for me activated. We've uploaded all our content. So all the images and videos for this test campaign are live. We have different headlines and primary texts, and the targeting is identical to the scale. So nothing's changed. And then we've got the website, which is the same, the budget, which is identical to start. And then we've got Optimize for me on. And now we're going to add in the creative bank. So for the creative bank, I have, it's quite a number of assets. So let's just give this a second. This part of the video might be a little bit long-winded, because we're now going to upload all the creative that is going to be tested. So just give the system a chance. And there's 19 in total, so I'm going to make sure that we have all 19. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can do a maximum of 50. The more you put, the more the algorithm has to play, and that way you can actually make sure that you're testing more. So the idea is by the time we get to phase 2 and 3, we should have another whole batch of creative that we dump in here, so that the ads can just keep going, right? Let's go to the videos. So we have, whoa. Okay, so that last one is this boosting campaigns one. My only concern is this is 18 videos now, so let's just give it a turn. Okay, so we'll give this a chance to load. And there's a reason why we're putting all of this in the testing campaign and not the scale. And the reason is we're going to take the top performers from this one. We're going to put that in the scales creative bank. So we're going to use this as the playground to figure out what works, what doesn't work. You'll notice that the content's a bit different. So like when you launch another ad with the hope it works strategy, and this is now them laughing at you because you did the wrong thing. Here again, we've now animated versions of the lady that is used in the main campaign, right? So the creative is different in the sense that we can get a feel for what's going to work, what's not going to work. We might find that video works much better than images. We could have the same image and video, but it just works differently. Here calling out, this one calls out specifically Aussie and Kiwis. So it's like very intentional. This is like a fast-paced, jumpy, real-sized creative. And that is why it's important to actually build this creative out before you get here. Often what happens is clients get to this stage and they try and figure out what their ads are going to be. You really want to do that in the beginning. Like you want to make sure that before you come and build out the campaign, you have all of this locked in. Often what also happens is they get to this stage and then they're just selecting whatever they can find. That's okay because we want the variation, but you really want to be strategic in what you've done. So you'll notice each of these designs are thought out in terms of what it's actually saying. Like it might, like this one says, Facebook ads not performing, ? Like it's a calling out the pain point. So what you want to make sure is that when you're creating your ads, think of the problem that you're solving and think of what stage of awareness they're at, and then build out the creative to go and meet them where they're at. The nice thing is you're actually going to see these. So when you see part 2 of this training, we'll actually show you how we make the decisions to switch certain things off. What's going to happen is, and I'll just talk you through this while the system uploads. What's going to actually happen is the AI is actually going to do all the split testing. So let's say, for example, we have $20 a day. This $20 a day will now be distributed and split test every single creative that we have uploaded. After a few days, once they exit learning, it will determine which are the best performing and which are the lowest performing. It will then automatically remove the lowest performing and only show the best performing. Now for the scale campaign, what's typically going to happen is it will narrow down until it gets to a few pieces of content that are working. The testing campaign, because we're loading so much creative bank in, it's going to remove one and put one in from the creative bank. Remove one, put one in. And it will keep testing and it will remove and it will put in as it needs and as it sees fit. Now, the only thing that could work against us is the budget. So if there's insufficient budget, it could sit in learning for a little bit longer than we would like. And I did not want to press escape. That is really unfortunate. So I'm going to have to pause this. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to upload all the content and then we will select it. Okay, so it is now loaded. So we're going to make sure that we select all of them. So we have 18 videos, 19 images, and 10 items in scale, 10 items in testing. So you have almost 60 items that will go through. And after 30 days, we will definitely know which are the best performers. We'll definitely be able to scale up the campaign. And what we're going to show you, I'm going to launch this bad boy. That's cool. Let's hit launch. Sorry, I just want to make, yeah, that's correct. Let's just make extra sure that this is all in. That's fine. That's fine. That's cool. Okay, let's go. So we're now launched in terms of both our scale and our test. Now, the next step is typically within the next 24 to 48 hours, making sure everything gets approved. What could mess this up is something doesn't get approved. We need to make sure that we upload the right stuff, remove some assets, put assets in, whatever it may be. However, it's unlikely that it won't be approved because we've strategically planned everything out. Now, what happens next is we typically allow these campaigns to run. We don't want any interruptions in our billing, so no missed payments or anything to stop the ads for whatever reason. These ads are going to run. We're going to do our best to not look at them. And in a couple days' time, we're going to come back and we're going to have a look at the actual numbers. And then what we'll do is we will remove assets that are not working in the scale, and we will move assets from the testing into scale that are the best performers. And typically that's how we will roll for the next couple of weeks. Now, what should happen is we should get to a stage where the budget on the testing goes down and the scaling goes up, and we're able to get multiple sales with this budget. And when you get to that stage, we're then kind of refining the campaign. You can incrementally start increasing the budget. So when your return on ad spend equals more than what you're actually, like if you're getting more in sales than you're spending in ads, you can incrementally increase that ad spend. And generally what will happen is you'll get a well-oiled machine. Now, this can take time. It can sometimes take multiple weeks. It can sometimes take several weeks. But the important thing is that we're strategic in our approach. We're focusing on how we're actually going to scale. We're not just launching. You can see this is so different from just launching a campaign and saying, well, here's $30 a day. Let me hope and pray that I get some sales. We're very strategic in what assets we're removing and putting in, and we need to be patient in this process. And what is great is I'll actually record the next session and we'll actually dive into the numbers. So in the next session, we're actually going to look at exactly where the ads are at, which assets we're going to move. I'm going to show you why we're moving them. I'm going to show you what numbers we're looking at and what signals you need to use in order to move the assets. The only delay that could happen is that the ad stays in learning, which we're not going to know right now. We will only figure that out once the ads start delivering. And then we will be able to make any changes as we need. Now, when it comes to while this last bit goes, I'll kind of wrap up this video. When it comes to your specific ad strategy, depending on your business, depending on your industry, if you're a local business and you service local, open up your ads with no interest in that local area and make sure the creative speaks to what you offer. So for example, if you're an electrician or if you're a Sparky and you do servicing of houses, make sure your ads specifically call that out so that it can attract the correct audience. If, for example, you countrywide or nationwide, open up that audience, open up the age groups, open up the ranges, and allow the assets to do the work. If you upload a broad campaign and you only put 1 or 2 assets in, or you put in assets that are all pretty much the same, there is a really strong chance that the campaign will not work. So just be mindful. What you want to do, last step, is just come in and say, let's label this one. And now we have our 2 campaigns. And what is great is we'll be able to measure them up side by side, and we will show you exactly how we make the moves and where we make them. But for now, we don't want to touch this. We want to kind of let this go and occasionally check in after a few days. But you want to make sure that we can leave this so that it allows the algorithm to actually test the budget and test the creative that we've implemented. And that is really the new algorithm. It's how you're going to be able to combat with a lower budget these new changes. What I do urge you to do is go back into your campaigns. If you have old campaigns that are still working really well, what I mean by working really well, you have good click-through rates, you have good conversions, you're getting leads or you're getting sales and things are working, don't mess with those campaigns. You can test other campaigns, but then you're thinking of the scaling and the testing concept, and think about how you can bring that into your business and how you're actually trying to attract your ideal audience. The next step for this, once it's scaled up, would be retargeting, and then we could kind of drive the message on. But for now, this is going to allow us to test 60 pieces of creative and figure out which ones work the best before we go and we throw too much budget on a campaign that is not resonating with the audience. Like I said, this is the first time we've done something like this. This has been almost a 55-minute recording, and I really hope you got value in this. And the nice thing is you can literally watch this play by play and figure out how you can apply this specifically to your business. In the next video, we're going to kind of cover phase 2 and 3. So we'll do phase 2. I'll show you how we move assets. We'll review the campaigns. We'll look at what they're doing. And then we'll be able to show you exactly behind the scenes how we get a campaign from nothing, from an idea to a concept, to a strategy, to actually implementing, but then to really optimizing and scaling. I look forward to seeing your campaigns. Our community is the best place to connect and reach out if you have any questions. And I look forward to showing you what it looks like in a couple of days.